Dear chess friends, welcome to your side of chess channel and welcome to an amazing gameplay by the latest version of Stockfish by the powerful Stockfish 16. We have here Caissa versus Stockfish in an amazing Richter-Rauzer attack of the Sicilian Defense, and I think this game could be really useful in your home preparation in the Sicilian Defense because probably many of us don't like to play against the Richter-Rauzer attack. The Richter-Rauzer attack from White's perspective I think is much easier to play because you have a certain positional idea that you can apply in many lines. So basically, when you play the Richter-Rauzer attack, then you don't have to study so much here with the white pieces. On the other hand, black has to solve in the beginning of the opening stage many positional but also tactical problems, so that's why it's sometimes tough to play this against this Richter-Rauzer attack. But Stockfish will show us here great ideas, great positional opportunities, but then afterwards again Stockfish will show us great tactics, immortal tactical sequences, again brutal tactical shots for sure. So let's see now the game. Put your seatbelts on with the white pieces. The Caissa engine opened with the move e4. We have now the move c5 by Stockfish, the Sicilian Defense. Knight to f3, d6 modern variation, d4 open Sicilian, c takes d, knight takes d, knight to f6 hitting the pawn, knight to c3, and now knight to c6. So both engines have now developed the knights here in the center of the board. After move knight to c6, we have now bishop to g5. This is now this Richter-Rauzer attack, this Richter-Rauzer variation. This is the positional idea. The idea is clear, to simply trade off the bishop for a knight, creating a messed up pawn structure here on the f file, creating really structural weaknesses, which can of course be a weak pawn or a weak square. It is positional idea, but sometimes it is also risky to give up the bishop pair in an early stage of the game. So there is a certain compensation for black, of course, if white gives up the bishop for knight. So Stockfish simply reacts with the normal Sicilian idea, with this common flank attack idea on the queen side, with the idea to play a6 b5, queen to d3. Here Caissa is preparing queenside castling. We have bishop to d7, queenside castling, and now after move e6, this becomes now this so-called chevening pawn structure, in which we have this mobile pawn structure e6 d6, and when something gets cleared, maybe we can let the pawns roll. We can play d5 if there is maybe a possibility, also e5. So also this both of these pawns are building a beautiful restriction. So you see these four squares are taken by these two pawns. So in my opinion, a good really mobile pawn structure by black. So after move f4, Stockfish continues with bishop to e7, simply protecting further the knight. We have knight to b3, b5 by Stockfish, simply creating the attacking chances here on the queen side. We have bishop to f6, and now g takes f6, and that's the position that Richter-Rauzer attack player wants to have this kind of a structure, and wants of course to hit now here the central with the move f5. You don't want to take, of course, here with e takes f5, then you weaken the d5 square. Your bishop will be stuck here just by protecting both of these pawns on f6 and d6. So never take out this pawn on f5. So that's why Stockfish plays kingside castling. Good choice. Although we have to say there are certain structural weaknesses already here on the king side. You see there are several dark square problems, but these positional problems can be cleared like Stockfish did here already with the move king to h8. Then we play rook to g8 and then rook to g7 if necessary, protecting everything maybe on the 7th rank, and get a new defender in front of the king if necessary. If you feel bothered by maybe white's opportunities on the king side, then rook to g8, rook to g7 could be a nice defensive resource. So after move king to h8, we have knight to e2. The Caissa engine is trying to reroute the knight somewhere, maybe get a new attacker into the game. Rook to g8. Stockfish is not waiting anything to happen here. Stockfish first plays defensive moves, good solid moves here. Good move really by Stockfish. We have queen to d2. Now we have a5, g3 by Caissa, and now a4, simply putting more pressure here on the queen side. We have knight to d4, knight to a5 with the preparation to occupy the weak c4 square. In the game we have now f takes e6, and now first knight to c4, pardon me, here this intermediate attack against the queen, and now finally f takes e6. And so far, good game for both sides. Black's king is of course a little bit naked here. On the other hand, black has also good activity, has good counter-attack possibilities on the queen side, and still remains this solid structure here, this three mobile pawns. But of course the downside is that now Caissa played bishop to h3, immediately threatens to pick up now the pawn on e6, and that's why I think this game is really instructive, because Stockfish will show here an amazing defensive idea. First of all, first we have to do something about this e6 square, but it's not like Stockfish will never play passive moves. This move queen to c8 is of course a certain possibility, but this is something that you don't want to get. You want to keep your chances with the queen on dark squares here. So that's why Stockfish, after move bishop to h3, played the stunning move f5, and this is the move that I really liked in the game. That's maybe even the best move in my opinion here. This move solves all of the positional problems here on the king side. Believe me or not, this is really an amazing defensive move. f5, let's see opportunities in the game. E takes f5 was played, but let's see first this idea, knight to f4. This also a move that has to be discussed, I think, for sure. After move knight to f4, e5 is not so good, because you get knight to e6, and then this other knight will come on e6, so this is not working. You have to play bishop to f6, leaving simply the e6 pawn unprotected, but you hit simply the pawn on b2. Really wild stuff. So as I said, this wasn't played in the game, but this was also maybe an opportunity for white to go into this line. So after e takes f5, we play now e5. We're passing through, we're locking out now the bishop on h3. Very important idea. And okay, black get challenged probably in this way. Knight to e6, we play bishop to e6, again knight to e6, but now the queen can come very active into the game. So in my opinion, after a couple more moves, we will eventually play maybe e4, liberating the long diagonal for the dark square bishop. We can also play b4, we can also play g3, letting this pawn structure explode. The most important thing is that we have locked out now here the light square bishop out of game. This is really nice approach. So after move f5, here the Caissa engine didn't play the move knight to f4, played now e takes f5, but now again with the same idea, passing through and locking out now the bishop on h3. Really nice defensive ideas here by Stockfish. Knight to e6, bishop to e6, f takes e6, but nothing dramatically changed. Maybe there is a slightly better activity now for white light square bishop that can be of course activated on the square f5, but so far the pawn is basically standing in the way, and now the bishop is playing a good blockade, and Stockfish continues now with the normal plans here on the queen side. So Stockfish blocked out white's attack, slowed down really white's attack now on the king side, and has now really precious time to attack the queen side. You cannot pick up now the pawn on b4, because you get this one, knight takes b2, whatever you do, queen to b2, king to b2 leads into a rook to b8, devastating position then for white. Really wild stuff. So after move b4, here the Caissa engine tried to get a new defender into the game, play now knight to c1, queen to c7, Stockfish connects now the rooks, maybe wants to also include further attackers into the game, and now bishop to f1, attacking now the knight on c4. Even if you play rook to f1 here, maybe this was even a slightly better choice. The issue is here that actually black can break and enter immediately with this idea b3, and this is now this common idea in opposite side attacking. So you see we have kings on opposite sides. Whenever you have this kind of a position, you have to be fast in your attack, even if you have to lose maybe some pawns. But the idea is clear. We want to clear the files, clear the diagonals. We want to open files, open diagonals in front of your opponent's king. So now here with the move b3, I think black would be much faster in the attack against white's king than white is against black's king. So that's why b3, for instance, is immediately coming. You play c takes b3, we take. If you take with the knight and the queen is coming into the game, you can play maybe something like, I don't know, a3. Look at this, we play knight takes a3, b takes a3, we can even play knight takes b2, queen to b2. This rook is coming into the game, so the position will simply explode. You can of course here also play after move b3, a takes b3, but now it doesn't change the fact that you're getting destroyed, because look at this, knight to b2, king to b2. Again, we're building batteries on the c file, a file. You cannot protect both sides, so it's game over again here for white. Really wild stuff. So after move queen to c7, so as I said, rook to f1 is also not so good, because b3 is going to happen, and as I said, black is much faster in the attack. So that's why bishop to f1. Here the Caissa engine got really annoyed by the possibilities of this knight on c4, but now Stockfish played a beautiful tactical shot. Maybe you can also, just for fun, pause the video and try to see now the best idea here for black. I'm not saying it's immediately winning, but it's a beautiful tactical move that Stockfish of course played. Okay, here we have the amazing knight to a3, really wild stuff. What you do, you have to react. If you move your king, of course, then you get the fork. Here after knight to a3, we have b takes a3. Now after b takes a3, the b file gets open, and the problem is now this pawn on a4 is already advanced, so you cannot cover with your knight on b3. You can, of course, but then we will simply lose it because the pawn on a4 is controlling the square. In the game after b takes a3, here bishop to g2 was played by the Caissa engine, rook to c8, hitting the pawn on c2, queen to d2 was played by Caissa, and now this is a beautiful move, bishop to g5, hitting simply the queen. The queen has to step back, and now after queen to b6, you have to cover now finally with your knight. If you play something like king to a1, of course, then you get checkmated immediately here on b2. After knight to b3, we have a takes b3, we have a takes b3 also by Caissa. Queen to b3 doesn't make sense, of course, because you get simply this one, queen to c7 with the preparation to play rook to b8. So that's why here after a takes b3, a takes b3, but now maybe, again, you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black. Again, it's a beautiful, beautiful, I would say even pattern in the Sicilian. It's a common tactic that you play in these types of positions, in these types of structures. So again, just for fun, try to see now the best move here for black. Okay, here there is a beautiful possibility of the a2 move. Whatever you do, it's dangerous. If you play king to a2, then you get decoyed to the second rank. That's the issue. And if you don't take, then you have to play with your king on a dark square, and this dark square can be, of course, attacked by potential bishop's activity. So this move a2 is creating now really brutal damage in white's position. Let's see what happens. As I said, if you play king to a1, then you are getting your king on dark squares. Now we play e4, and if you cover now the dark squares, you don't want to take, of course, with the queen, then bishop to f6 is happening immediately. So this is devastating. Then the queen is coming into the game, so I really don't want to now discuss every potential position, but this is game over for white for sure. So here after move e4, you can play, of course, queen to d4, but queen to d4, rook to d4, bishop to f6 leads into a bad game for white. After move a2, that's why here Caissa took king takes a2, but now the issue is again e4. Now again queen to d4 seems that it's solving all of the position problems, but as I said, now you get decoyed to the second rank, and the bishop is on the second rank. So you see how Stockfish is controlling the whole board with its tactical possibilities. Really amazing move. Rook to c2, king to a3, rook takes g2, rook to e4, and now after move d5, rook to d4 was played, and now after this check, rook to a8 in this position, the Caissa engine resigned with down a piece. Of course, this is, I think, understandable. Wherever you go, you get further checks. Also, if you get somewhere, there are always these attacks by the bishop. You have pawns, but of course the king is in danger, so that's the issue with the support of the bishop and these two rooks. The king can even run even into some checkmate patterns. So really incredible game here in the Sicilian defense by Stockfish 16 in the Richter-Rauzer attack. Very nice approach. Let's go from the beginning. I really liked this f5 move after this sequence that Stockfish played. When Stockfish got challenged here by the activity of white's pieces, then this f5 move, I think, as I said, solved many positional problems. You play e5, knight to e6, bishop to e6, f takes e6, and now, okay, this bishop really never came into the game. The pawn was standing in the way, but Stockfish was much faster here on the queen side and destroyed simply white's castle's position. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more brutal attacking games like this, check out our commented chess games played by computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and what to say in the end, chess is the best, of course.